You're right in the middle of a lot of things that go on in the fall of the year with this university sports and everything. Uh, it- Anybody that wants to respond to this, because it's a concern of mine, if there is no federal preemption of state NIL laws, do you believe that there will be any Title IX concerns? And if there is a federal NIL proposal, what do you propose Congress do to mitigate Title IX concerns, if you think that there should be concerns raised? I don't expect all of you to answer that, but if any of you want to dig into that, I'd appreciate hearing your opinion.
I'd like to give a little perspective here, I think, on, Title IX is federal law and it's enforceable. There are some, the collectives, it's kind of difficult to see the degree to which they are collaborating with the schools or separate from schools or anywhere in between. And, collectives acting as an arm of the school, sharing central services. I think this was addressed in the draft, Senators Booker, Blumenthal, and Moran. There has to be kind of a clear line. Is this an extension of the school? And if it is, Title IX should apply. If not, then it's just like Nike or some other third party out there. And as much as we all, the beginning of NIL, it was all about free market opportunities for college athletes. The same ones that the coaches get, the pros get, every American citizen gets. With the free market, sometimes the free market isn't very equitable in all walks of life. If you look at advertisers, there's been complaints from different groups that advertisers aren't including diversity in various areas. But you don't have Congress trying to come in and define things. The free market's one thing. We advocate on our organization when it comes to direct pay. Title IX is applicable. Free market's free market. I think there's issues being raised about whether or not male athletes get more than female athletes. And that is a reflection in part, again, aside from the idea that some of these collectives are actually acting as an extension of the school, which should apply, Title IX would apply. Really it's a reflection of society. There's an equitable treatment amongst various subsets of groups in the free market. I think that's what we're seeing here. The other is to point out that this industry, no secret, $17 billion primarily generated football and basketball players, sports that are predominantly black. The one area where they might have equal freedoms is in NIL. The degree to which any of this money is flowing more towards football and basketball players because of market interests, that's our economic system, free market, capitalism. When it comes to third parties, that's the whole vein. That's when we advocated from California, the very first NIL state, and every state in between, that's clearly understood. I think there's a bit of a blur here when we're talking about third-party NIL versus things that the school gives directly. Again, if a collective is an extension of the school, then it absolutely should be, Title IX should apply. But Title IX is the law. It's enforceable now. And complaints should go to the Department of Education, Office for Civil Rights in the appropriate areas, lawsuits. But I don't know that it's even appropriate for Congress to start dictating what the free market should look like only for college athletes, which may so happen to take money out of black athletes' pockets after the first couple of years of them finally getting equal treatment. I think that would be inappropriate and misguided.
Still got a minute left. Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Senator Grassley, I'd like to respond to that as well. And just speaking to Title IX from a collective standpoint, what we're seeing, remember, we're just now into year 3 of this marketplace. So it's still evolving. We're still adjusting. But I can tell you on the ground level from a trend standpoint, we are seeing a correction on those revenue sports, your football, men's basketball, and some self-governance that's taking place with the way we're contracting with the student athletes. But the inverse is happening for our non-revenue and women's sports. We are seeing more and more deals that are asking for female involvement. I know, speaking from the University of Mississippi standpoint, we've tripled our female roster of NIL from last year to this year. Our first team-wide deal at Ole Miss was our women's basketball team. Some of the highest earners in NIL, as I told Senator Graham, are female athletes. Now, there's not as many of them, but what I would just encourage everybody that whether Title IX applies to us from a collective standpoint or not, it would not change how we operate. We are operating to have a very diverse and inclusive athlete roster because at the end of the day, that's what brands want. And that creates more value when we have brand campaigns. And we are getting requests from outside brands more for female student athletes. So that trend is developing. Is it acceptable to this point? Not acceptable, but it is moving in the right direction. So while your high revenue sports are kind of self-governing and correcting themselves, your non-revenue and female sports are seeing a boost as the figures are showing us and what we're seeing at the ground level.
Mr. Chairman, I'll put the rest of my questions for answer in writing.
Thank you, Senator Grassley. You're welcome to do so. Thank you.